okay, we made this amount of money, then we made this, now we're making this, we would kind of think like, oh, we're not really doing that well.
Right.
We're doing better than we have, but how much better? I think perspective.
You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. But you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we sat down with the beautiful, amazing, one and only Catherine, Mini but Mighty Nash. Today, for episode 547, Why People Quit Too Early.
So this is one of the most powerful topics we could possibly talk about because... So Kevin and I, as you know, and you've probably heard a lot this week, we did a speech. So it dropped as last Sunday's episode.
Correct. That is correct.
And we did a questionnaire to this group. And we think that this group very much represents many of our listeners. And in that questionnaire, we asked many, many, many questions. And one of the things that we found is that consistency is a huge challenge. Wow. Huge.
Really going to bring a ton of value.
Yeah. Right. Huge challenge. So in one of the slides, one of the 10 principles that we brought, I basically said with consistency, all things are possible. Without it, almost nothing is. But I really want you to sit with that for a second. Let's all think of a goal, okay? Let's say you want to be a professional snowboarder. Can you do that without being consistent in snowboarding?
Nope.
No. Let's say what's a goal you want to achieve?
I'd like to have a net worth of at least $1 billion.
Wow. Can you do that without consistent?
No.
Right. So I think that Kevin and I have started calling it staying power. It's almost like once we started podcasting, it was like, okay, how do we make this, how do we survive long enough to thrive? I think that's what this episode's going to be about. And yes, I totally stole the context part.
Yeah, it's like
from you.
It's okay.
This is how we used to do it.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
It's interesting because I think if you are somebody who is driven by certainty, you're most likely going to quit sooner than somebody who isn't. Right. So if certainty, we've talked about the 6 basic human needs. If you guys don't know them well, go listen to Tony Robbins' TED Talk. It's absolute fire, and I could never do justice the way he did. But a lot of people are certainty driven, especially if you're emotional. You probably crave certainty. For a long time, I know that's my way. And I always say, like, if you're certainty driven, being an entrepreneur is going to be tough.
Right.
It's going to be tough. So I think many people quit too early because they assume that it's not going to work out, and they're super uncertain. I know, again, for me, that was one thing. Now, I want to reference. So I said this in one of the other episodes earlier last week, where I'm doing our QuickBooks. And I looked back to 2019, and I think our mind plays tricks on us in terms of time.
For sure.
I looked back. I first started coaching in January of 2019 because we formed an LLC in December of 2018.
Yes.
So I started coaching in Florida
Yep.
in January 2019.
Yep.
Okay, as we've mentioned previously in last week's episodes, I started for free. I literally started coaching somebody for free.
Tiff. Shout out to Tiff.
No, Tiff wasn't. No, Jenna. Shout out to Jenna.
Oh,
Jenna
really?
was my first client.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Shout out to Jenna.
Now Jenna's on the team.
Nice. And I did coach Tiff for a time. She was on the team as well.
Yep.
But I started for $0. Then I went up to $50 a week. Okay. Fast forward to June of 2019. I was making anywhere from $600 to $800 a month coaching. Not a ton of money, right? Like not a ton of money.
Right.
If you flash forward to 6 months after that, I got my first ever solo high-ticket podcast client for $1,200 a month. That was just one client at $1,200 a month. Then if you fast forward till, 2 months ago, I just spit all over you, I'm sorry.
Dude, you're good.
If you fast forward 2 months ago, I think in the business, Next Level Podcast Solutions, we definitely did over.
You're spitting a lot. It's great.
I can't help it. I get fired up about numbers.
Yeah.
Also, that heat, man, can you turn that off?
Yeah.
It's
I got
so
you.
hot in here. It's so hot in here. I'm sweating. We got a little mini space heater, and right now there is a nor'easter hammering outside, so it's a little chilly in the studio. So a couple months ago, we definitely had over 10K.
Yeah.
Definitely over 10K in a month. If I was to look back, like a year and a half, 2 years ago does not seem that long ago.
I know.
But we literally went from, at that time, you weren't making a ton of money.
No.
We probably went from $500 a month in 2 years combined to now well over $10,000 a month.
Right.
That's 20x. 20x.
I know. It's unreal.
And that's 2 years.
But I think what's really important to mention is we kind of felt like we were losing that entire time.
And we still do.
And we still do. It's like, I don't know how to explain this concept, but it's so important for people to get. Like, it's almost like you feel behind until you look back and realize how far ahead you are.
Yeah.
Let's think about it like this. Let's say you're climbing a mountain. Every inch climbing up feels like a struggle. But eventually, when you stop to take a break and you look back, you see, like, holy crap, I've climbed, like, really far. And I think that that's a really good analogy. It's almost like, I just think we drastically, this is a quote that I live by religiously. Like, I constantly think about this, and I'm not just saying that. I really think about this all the time. People drastically overestimate what they can accomplish in a day, and they drastically underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. I decided 5.5 years ago after that car accident that this is my decade. I'm playing for the decade. I'm not going to be worrying so much about the day-to-day. And that's also why I think when fluctuations in the economy or the presidency or COVID, I feel like the day-to-day storms and fluctuations don't affect me quite as much as some other people. I think it's because of the longer, what Dave refers to as a time perspective. Brian Tracy refers to as a time perspective. I think the longer your time perspective in a certain arena, the less the punches are going to affect you in the micro.
Yeah, and I don't want the only reason I'm talking about our numbers is because I know them. It's not look at us, like, trust me, we have a long way to go.
For sure.
So that's not why I'm saying it. But what I am saying is, if I didn't look back and like see that actual, okay, we made this amount of money, then we made this, now we're making this, we would kind of think like, oh, we're not really doing that well. Right. We're doing better than we have, but how much better? I think perspective. I think one of the reasons people quit is because they either have the wrong perspective and they're looking at the people who are years and years ahead and they're not looking at the past versions of them. I think that's a huge thing.
I know.
I think that's a huge thing. And I think the other thing is, like, going back to what we talked about earlier, if you assume that being a successful entrepreneur is going to fix all your problems, you're going to realize pretty quickly that they don't. Mm-hmm. I think that's a thing.
They almost amplify them.
Yeah, I think they do, to a degree. And then I think, what do you think the number one reason people quit too early is? If you could only choose one.
A lack of understanding of the compound effect.
Can you explain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
we did the compounding penny in a couple of, I don't know, last week. That was in one of the episodes, or 2 weeks ago.
I think it was a 5-minute clinic, so I think it was a Monday. Yeah, let's find that. Okay, the number one reason people are not... What was the question?
What is the number one reason people quit too easy?
Yeah, quit too early.
Yeah, what did I say, easy?
Yeah, both are true. It's a lack of understanding of the compound effect. It's like... So Kevin and I were in the studio earlier, and we were crunching some numbers. You pulled up a graph. What was that thing called? Moore's Law or something?
That was called Moore's Law. I heard that in This Is Marketing by Seth Godin today.
Okay. So it's Moore's curve or something like that. Basically, there's innovators, there's early adopters, there's the first majority, and then the second majority, and then the laggards. And basically what this is like, okay, imagine a new product comes out that's like kind of ahead of its time. So the iPod before iPods were a thing. There's the innovators. These are the people that love new technology and that, they're like early adopters. They're like really, well, technically, innovators are the first ones in line to buy the new video game, to buy the new iPhone, to buy the new iPod, whatever. Then there's early adopters who kind of follow the innovators, okay? Then there's the first majority. Once enough early adopters pick something up, then all of a sudden it reaches a tipping point. As a matter of fact, Malcolm Gladwell has a book called The Tipping Point where he talks about this. But once enough people hear this podcast and it gets to a point where it's quote unquote accepted, it has enough social proof, that's when it starts to really tip. In other words, there's certain people out there, and by the way, that thing is a certainty scale.
I'm going to show this to the camera.
Okay.
Do you want to further expand on it while I talk?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this is because of the chasm.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Timer went off. It's all good. So Kevin is showing the graph that I'm describing to the camera, so if you're not on YouTube, please check it out. Okay, so here we go. You have the innovators, the early adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. If you don't know what a bell curve is, look this up, okay? And then there's the chasm. The chasm is basically, you've probably heard of people, if you're an entrepreneur, you've probably heard of crossing the chasm. The chasm is that time, that tipping point, when the innovators and the early adopters, have you ever found a band before the world found them?
Yeah.
Okay, that you were an early adopter. Give me an example.
Who's a good example?
For me, it was Trust Company.
Macklemore.
Okay, you found him before he was famous.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin found Macklemore. You can tell I'm not a big into
We
that.
were just listening to him.
We were? That was
Yes,
him?
that's
Awesome.
Macklemore.
Okay, fire. Okay, so you found him before he was famous. So you found him before the chasm.
Yes.
Okay, so the early majority, basically when enough of people like Kevin, who you love rap, right?
I do.
So you probably find rappers before they're famous.
Sometimes.
You found Justin Freeman.
Yeah.
Okay. We had Justin Freeman on this podcast. He's a rapper. He came out with an album that Kevin has right here.
Yes.
It's called what?
Antius.
Okay. So Kevin in rap is an innovator. Why? Because he's actually a rapper, right? So you found someone who's really, really, really good at rap who the world does not yet know about. Like, it's not like Eminem yet, right? Okay, then there's enough early adopters where you cross a chasm. And when you cross the chasm, that's when enough early adopters and innovators see it to where there's social proof. Imagine this is a certainty scale, Kev, from 0 to 10. How much certainty were you able to have that he's good compared to an average person who doesn't know?
10.
Exactly. That's why you're an innovator. That's why innovators can capture things earlier. So, for example, a podcaster, if they were to listen to our show, they would be like, holy crap, they're really good, I think. Genuinely.
Or they're garbage.
Yeah, right. No, but I honestly think they would think we're really good. Why? Because they know. Whereas the masses don't know yet that we're really good at this. And that's okay because we're on this curve. So before I get too esoteric here, here's your phone back.
Hey, thank you for that, man.
The
Sorry I couldn't show it to the screen.
The reason why people quit too early is that their expectations of what should be is way different than the reality at first. Whereas, okay, imagine Kevin coaching for $50 a week. If that Kevin quit coaching, you would never have made the $2,500 per client and the 10,000 plus that we're making per month now. But people don't connect that.
Yeah.
It's hard to connect the dots in advance. So the last thing I say on this episode, I promise you, I'm going to quote Steve Jobs because I listened to this Stanford address this weekend. I had a tough Sunday, and I always go to this. Okay. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. But you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, life, karma, whatever, because trusting that the dots will connect will give you the courage to follow your heart and intuition, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference. It's easy to look back and go, holy crap, that $50 a week coaching led to $10,000 a month. But looking forward, you have no idea.
I know.
And as a matter of fact, you coached for free. You had 2 free clients. If I saw you back then coaching for free, would I have connected Kevin's going to coach for $10,000 a month at one point? Not necessarily, especially if you lack belief and confidence. So to answer your original question, why do people quit too early? They don't have enough belief in the future potential of their current situation.
And then another thing, and we'll get out of here, I think, imagine if I listened to the people who didn't believe.
I know.
If I listened to 99% of the people who said, like, what do you mean? And again, like, there's a reason, when did that episode drop? Episode dropped last Monday on whose opinions matter. Like, whose opinion really matters in your life? It's probably somebody who has a deeper understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and understanding that, like Alan said, this is a long game. We're talking about staying power. Like, yeah, we have 540 episodes, right? We're not going to stop, or whatever this is, 547. We're not going to stop. When this thing does shift, we're going to have a huge body of work. We're going to have 7, 8, 900, 1,000 episodes, and then people are going to have so much content to consume. That's going to be a huge, huge win for us. We're playing the long game.
And it's the practice.
Yeah.
It's the reps.
And you guys
got to
do that too.
Yeah.
You got to, yeah, today matters. Today matters, right? But today matters in relationship to the year, to the decade, to the next 25 years. Like, understand that this is not a short game, and anybody who tells you it is paying for followers, and they're probably not as successful as you think.
Exactly.
Because even we're not as successful as you think.
Right.
Right? You might think we have it all figured out. We don't. Like,
Right.
we're still figuring this out too.
Yeah, we're still climbing.
Yeah, and we will be forever. So
Yep.
don't quit. I got a tattoo on my arm for a reason.
Never quit.
Never quit. Ladies and gentlemen, if in 2021 you want to start a podcast, reach out to Alan or myself. We have Next Level Podcast Solutions. No matter where you are in your podcast journey, there is a next level, and we can help get you there, all the way from full podcast production to just audio, video editing. Anywhere in between, we got you, and we would love to help. Also, if you are looking for speakers, Alan and myself would love to speak to your organization, your school, whatever it is. We will bring the energy, and we will deliver a fully custom presentation. We will send out a questionnaire to you and your team and whoever's going to be attending, and we will literally cater the speech to those answers.
This community, Next Level community, they all believe in their own brighter future to some extent. That's why we're investing today. That's why you're listening to a podcast or watching a podcast rather than music right now, is because you want to get better. You want to get to the next level. You want to invest today for a brighter tomorrow. That is a common theme. If you imagine what your life could look like if you were around all people like that. I was on the phone with Amy and Charisse, shout out to two of our amazing clients, and I said, do you believe that you are more now focused or future focused? And they said, honestly, now. And I said, thank you so much for your honesty and your self-awareness. Do you believe the most successful people in the world are more focused on the future or on now? And they said the future. I said, okay, no worries. How do we get a little more percentage, a little more percentage, a little more percentage focused on your future, the brighter future? Not only is that what Kevin and I can do, not only is that what we're doing on this podcast, but the community is future-oriented. The community doesn't care just about now. They care about the brighter future and the hope of tomorrow. Get on those masterminds every week, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join this community. Join Next Level Nation. Coach with Kevin and I. Whatever it is, please reach out, and we will talk to you soon.
Speaking of masterminds, tomorrow we have our previous week's mastermind, what we've learned about relationships from our future wives. It's going to be absolute fire because we love talking about relationships. Alan and I get a lot of credit on other podcasts and from people in the community about how amazing our relationships are, but we are only 50%, and we are learning so much from our partners, so do not miss that. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we do not have fans. We have family, and we will see you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.